Right. So, one of the questions which not a question, but I've seen a lot of people ask how to kind of negotiate on price, or sometimes even worse, they don't negotiate at all, which I think is the main mistake. And I don't think they realize how much of a big mistake that can be. And at least in my experience, I've been running a development agency for the last 3 years, better part of 3 years now. And I have learned the hard way about a lot of these things, especially around pricing, because I really messed up at the start. And I didn't really know how to negotiate when I started this app. And basically, the way a conversation went was prospect would ask how much, and I say 10. And then he'd be like 8. I'd be like 9.5. Then he'd be like, 8.5. Then we'd be like 9. Okay, deal. Which is how most negotiations work. Now, the thing that I did not understand at the time is that especially if you are like, you're not bartering your business is not buying and selling goods, right? You are not like arbitraging goods. And one of the most powerful negotiation tactics that I learned over time was try and always ask for something in return in order to go down on your price. And this makes sure, because at the end of the day, you are running your business. And so your prices should be based on a real reason. You charge this much because your costs are this much and you need this much margin in order to operate a healthy business. That is how it works. You do not negotiate for the price of your toothpaste. The price is that, and you either pay it or you don't. And obviously, there's reasons for that, right? Like you don't really, you can't negotiate like 10,000 customers at that scale, but also other agencies, like the top of the line agencies, are not sitting there negotiating back and forth. Oh, let's do 8.75, and then the client says 8. It's like the biggest agencies in the world don't spend their time doing that. And if anything, at that point they usually don't kind of negotiate. But if you need to negotiate on price, because there are positions where sometimes you need a deal, you know that you need the deal. And so the client wants to go down on price, and 2, you want to accommodate. If you immediately accommodate what they say, you lose so much power because they will know that you need them. And that puts you in a position of weakness, which makes it very hard to negotiate well. And what ends up happening is you will have some clients who will erode your prices down to the bottom. And basically you will end up totally overworked and underpaid. And what that then creates is you don't have enough money to outsource it. So you can't scale. You have to spend all your time fulfilling it. And you're not able to then refocus that energy into getting more deals and growing the actual business. And so you're stuck working in the business, not on the business. And it's very hard to get out of that position because you do not have the funds and the resources to do that. And so it is important that you don't get yourself into that kind of place. And what I say by, make sure you ask for something is, okay, I say 10, the client wants 8. I say, okay, let's do 9, but you pay everything up front, right? Let's do 9. I'll give you a discount, but you have to write me an amazing testimonial. Refer me a friend. Put me in touch with somebody who's a tech founder, because that's a good prospect for me. Put me in touch with at least 2 or 3 of your friends, or 5. Ask for more payment up front, or ask for an extended timeline. I would avoid that one. This one's a bit touchy. But you can ask for all these kinds of concessions. There was one time I gave a client a 15% discount for starting by the end of the month. And bear in mind, we were on like the 22nd or something. And when you're pitching development projects, oftentimes like you're dealing with companies and sometimes they take a while to make a decision. And I said, like, okay, you want a lower price, that's fine, but I need you guys to commit before the end of the month. And so I want contract signed and cash in the bank. And it worked. And that is a really, really nice way to negotiate because you can accommodate them, right? So you are going out of the way, you are trying to make it possible, but that does not mean that you have to, like, at the end of the day, you have those prices for a reason. So if they want you to go down, they need to give something in return in order for you to retain. Like, that gives an image of like, okay, so this guy doesn't just go down because why not? Because otherwise, it's like, if you could have charged me 10 in the first place, that's the price you were asking. Now you're doing it for 9. The price changed, but the work didn't. The scope didn't change. Everything. That tells me that you don't know why you're pricing it the way you are, and you're just trying to price it at the maximum money you can get. And so that is a negotiation principle that I go to every conversation with now. And generally, I avoid negotiating price as well. What I do is I create different pricing options. So from the get-go, there are a couple different options available, and we don't have to sit there negotiating. And that means I control things a little bit more because I can create a really expensive option and a cheap option and a middle option. And you can read about this, but there's there's ways you can play with psychology when you have 3 pricing options. You can make the middle one look like a really good deal by making it a little bit more expensive than the cheapest, very cheap compared to the most expensive. And if you recommend that, oftentimes they'll go with it. And that will save you a lot of negotiation. And it means that that worst case, they go with the cheapest usually. And I would also say, as a separate tip, don't send people prices written. Do not send written prices. If you are pitching somebody a 5-figure deal or close to 5 figures, do not send that price in a text message, in a document, whatever it is. What I typically do is I do proposals. And I used to write written proposals, like a big document, as I just send it to people. I'm like, hey, have a look and tell me what you think. You just wrote one price. And if the client doesn't like it, that's it. It's very hard to gauge their immediate reaction and handle that well. And what I've learned over time is present that on a call so that you can immediately talk about it, because this can be a point of friction. And so you want to be there to resolve that issue and kind of soothe their pain as soon as that issue may arise. And, so what I'll typically do is a kind of 2-call close. First is discovering what is the application like? What do you need to build? Whatever. Can we even help you? Are we a good fit? Maybe yeah, maybe not. From there, then we make a proposal deck. And in that proposal, we tell them about what we do and why we're good, why we're different, why you should pay us instead of other agencies. And then I create the pricing, and the pricing is always the last section. And I will always do that on call. And so I'll be like, okay, listen, guys, I threw together a proposal for this project. And I can basically take you guys through what our approach would be. And when do you have time? We can do in 20 minutes, 30 minutes, pretty short call. Let's go through it. I'll take you guys through the deck and you guys can ask any questions. Most people totally happy with that. Now, there are a handful of clients who will ask for us to send them a proposal. If they send a proposal, I will send a Loom video. Sorry, if they ask to send the proposal, if they ask for something sent, not a live call, they don't want to do a call for whatever reason, I will do a Loom video. I would still rather I would just talk them through the pitch. Also, bear in mind though, if you do send a Loom video, make sure to try and keep it under 10 minutes. If your pitch is longer than 10 minutes, you're going to bore these guys to death. So make a Loom video, explain what you're doing. And again, you present the price while talking over it. And you explain why if you have different pricing options, you can be like, yeah, this one's for example, if you have those 3 prices, you can go for the middle one and tell them the first one's a bit too expensive for this, but it is an option for them. We make it available. Now, I don't think it makes sense, but, and you can tell that, and they will find that is they'll appreciate the good intention, right? They'll appreciate the fact that you are actually not trying to just sell them for the most money, and you're trying to be honest in terms of your recommendation and telling them that the middle one is the best for this project, which it should be designed to be or at least that's how we typically do it. People appreciate that. And the Loom video, even if it's not live, it's second best to a live call, but it's certainly still better than just a written proposal with a bunch of bullet points and at the bottom some flat price, some flat fee, which is what I've seen a couple of the early dev launch customers do. And yeah, I've had a call, with one guy who's round 1 in dev launch. And he was basically just like, oh yeah, I sent this proposal and I just put this price at the bottom. I was like, you definitely could. And then he got negotiated down and now he's doing it for, I think, and he knows that he's being underpaid. And I think basically these lessons could have helped him a lot. So I thought I'd make a video on it and throw it up. Maybe if anybody finds it useful, it can save them that little bit of pain. If you've watched this far, let me know any questions. As usual, I try to answer them as soon as I can. I keep a list of questions if somebody asks them in the comments. So I do pay attention to those. So feel free to drop them. But otherwise, I am packing right now. Not tomorrow. Monday, I will be going to London. Wednesday, I'll be going to Singapore. I have some meetings in London, very short time there. but meeting a couple people, actually one from YouTube, which is nice. And then I'll be headed out to Singapore for 3.5 weeks, which will be good fun to be back. But that's the plan.